Okay, the tools you'll need for this step are your fabric that you're going to use. I have my awesome Olfa rotary self-repairing mat, my quilting ruler, and my rotary cutter. Essentially, I am going to want to make a clean edge right up here at the top. So that's the first thing that I'm going to do. I have the fabric lined up best I can on the side here to see a straight edge. And I'm going to take my ruler here. And basically, I want to find a way here on the side to line it up nicely with this nice line that I'm getting on the selvage edge here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a cut straight across the top. First, I'm going to line this up nice, which I can't do with just one hand, so be right back. Okay, as you can see here, I've lined up the edge here, and then I've lined this line up here. So now I'm going to make a cut across the top right here, taking off exactly all that stuff. And what I'm actually going to be also trying to be mindful of is there is a obvious pattern already in the piece signs. So I'm basically going to just try to keep to the top of those. So I will be moving this up a little, not following that line, because I do need that piece sign design in my, sorry about that glare. So something like that. So I'm going to come in with my rotary cutter, and I can't do this too well one-handed because I need to hold this supported here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a cut here best I can, using my elbow there. You want to butt that blade right up to that edge of that ruler there. And then I'm just going to, oh, see, that's the problem with doing it one-handed. So I'm going to stop here for 1 minute and make that cut. Okay, there. So you can see how I've cut that odd kind of piece off of there. I am going to continue all the way across because this collar is for quite a large dog. So I'm going to reset it up. You can see it one more time. One moment. Okay, I've got it set up here. Got my cut that I made originally here, and now so I've kind of butted this ruler up with that as a line. I've also made sure to kind of take care to watch my pattern here, and then on the side, once again, I do have it lined up pretty well here and well here. Just a couple ways to check yourself. A lot of the times you won't have a nice pattern like this to follow, so it is really important to make sure that you have, your grids set up properly, and I'll show you later how you can do that and see that you have it set up well. So I'm going to make this cut. I'm not going to show you because, like I saw before, not easy to do with one hand, but I will take that piece off the top. Okay, so got that piece off the top there. Got a nice line to follow when I do my sewing and everything. That's really important. So I just quickly kind of wanted to talk about the rotary cutter. This and this ruler have honestly been the best investment that I could have made, as well as the mat. You do need the mat to go underneath for the cutter, but it has a nice little protector here. That way, when it's not being used, you're not getting an edge on the side here. Really easy to use, rolls really nicely. These blades are replaceable. So these are just a couple of the tools that I have at my disposal that make my job a lot easier. And also, if you're thinking about picking sewing up as a hobby, like I said, this is kind of an invaluable investment in my opinion. Just a little tip for you. Okay, so what I've done here is I've actually switched the direction of my ruler. So what I can do is get a 4-inch measurement from this point to the end of the ruler, so I can make my cut right here. Once again, I have used this line on the side to line up my edge of the ruler. I've also lined up the 4 here at the top. Okay. So I'm going to make a clean cut right down the bottom. I am just going to cut the whole 44 inches here. I do only need 35, but just to make clean cut all the way across the fabric. I'm going to do that real quick and come back to you. Well, something perfect just happened to show you. I realized that with this pattern, Specifically, I need to be mindful with my collar of where I'm putting the pattern. So I've actually made an adjustment here by about what equals about 1/4 of an inch. You can see here, and on the bottom where I've kind of already made my cut. So I need to be keeping this pattern right between this 2 and this 3 to get that to be the nice part of the collar that you see on the outside. I want to see the peace sign. So I've made an adjustment up 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to now actually cut this part off. Oops, wasted a little fabric. At least I didn't do it all the way across. And I'll be right back with you. All right, I just wanted to show you that sometimes I actually end up using this edge too. That's okay. However, whatever works for you. I've got this lined up, keeping my pattern in mind there in the center. I'm going to be making a cut straight across there. And there's my, my funny little fabric. Whoops. So I'm going to be making that cut now. All right, thanks to my tools that I've used here, the ruler, the self-repairing mat, and my rotary cutter, I have my fabric that is a little bit shorter than I ultimately maybe need it to be, but like I said, I'm really mostly just wanting to keep in mind this pattern that I have. The next thing that I'm going to do is cut the interfacing to go on the back of this. Interfacing is a material that you put on the back of your fabric. It helps to create stability, makes the fabric stiffer, essentially. You can buy it at your craft store. I buy the Pellin version. Is the one that I've been the happiest with. There's a bunch of different weights of it, so that would speak to how thick it is. So I'm gonna do that now. Actually, the interfacing gives us an awesome opportunity to see how the ruler and the mat work well. So nicely lined up my 4 inches here. I'm going to cut across, and I'm going to actually cut this one to be 34 inches rather than 35, and that's because the nature of the way the collar works, I'm going to be folding over the sides of the fabric. So I want the interfacing to be a little bit shorter. You'll see that in a future step. So right now I'm going to make that cut. Okay, and then how I use this to my advantage on this end over here, I've got my 4 lined up. I lined it up nicely up here with this edge here as well. And then what I'm going to do is I have my edge here right lined up exactly with the 34, because down on the other side I have lined it up with the 0 on that end. So on the 34 here, I'm going to cut here and here for the speed of being able to do that. And so I'm going to do that now. And I just figured I would show you. This is the one that I'm using. Like I said, this is the one that works the best for this application. There are tons of other ones that might work better for what you're doing. Ask the people at your craft store, or do a little research online yourself. Okay, I have flipped over the interfacing so that you can see the shiny side. This is the side that has the glue on it. That's the side that's going to go towards the wrong side of your fabric. Whenever you hear wrong side, that means the bad side, or the side that doesn't have as nice of a pattern. Usually you hear the right side when you have your nice pretty pattern on the right side. So attach this to the wrong side using an iron and a pressing cloth. I will show you that step next. Okay, I've nicely laid my interfacing over my fabric. I did keep the salvage on. You usually want to cut this off, actually, but I kept it on so I can show you something in one of the next steps. So I'm butting this up nicely with that line. That's actually exactly 1/4 of an inch, just to give you a heads up on that. Line this up nicely, so then I'm going to take and I'm going to cover it with my pressing cloth. And then I'm going to get it dampened. And the instructions say you want to start from the middle and work your way out. So I'm going to start here and kind of get the interfacing stuck onto there. So I'm going to complete this step now and be back with you. Well, to be honest, trial and error sometimes is the best. The pressing cloth wasn't working. I've had that problem in the past. So now I've just directly sprayed the interfacing and I'm putting the direct heat onto the interfacing. Depending on the fabric you're using, may not be the best idea to go about it that way. But just so you know, sometimes you do have to improvise. Okay, the result we want is essentially that the interfacing is stuck to the fabric part of it. They're one. Much more stable than just the regular fabric is. So I'm going to show you the next step right away here. I'm actually going to be folding this edge over. Like I said, that's one of the reasons that I left it. What that does is it gives me a clean side here, fabric-wise, on the outside when I'm finished. You'll see what I mean. So I'm going to press that down. I'm going to do the same thing on the other end, and we'll show you the next step. Okay, so I've got those pressed over. Nice clean edge there. Working with duck cloth, it's a little thicker, so it sometimes doesn't want to do what you want it to quite as well, but something you learn to work with. So next step I'm going to do actually is, since I'm here pressing and everything, I'm going to actually fold this right in half so that you have a nice clean edged edge here. Okay, so I'm going to do that first. I'll show you here in a minute. Okay, so I've made a fold all the way across here, and what I actually also did is kept in mind my pattern, because that's going to be basically the bottom edge of the collar. This is what you're going to see. This edge here is going to be folded in. So that's the next thing that I'm going to do. I'm going to fold these outsides in to match my line that I created by folding it in half both ways. Okay? Okay, like I said, I'm working with duck cloth. It's a little tougher, but I've got it folded all the way across just by hand at this point. I also did keep in mind of my pattern, like I said, so there's going to be our nice finished pattern. A little of the top got cut off, you know, it is what it is. So I'm going to press this now. Basically, I'm going to get it as flat as I can by hand like that, and then use the iron to my advantage. Something that I can't do very well one-handed again, so you get the idea. If you have any questions about anything, please feel free to email me. bellas.whistles@gmail.com is the best way to reach me. I will be back with you in a moment. Okay, I got it pressed down, so it should stay a little better. And then, like I said, I've got my nice pattern. You can see it's going to be on this side, actually, the one that I was more mindful of. So now I am actually all ready to embroider. So we're going to move over to the machine now.